Hello and welcome to the Film Pulse Podcast, the official podcast of filmpulse.net. Thank you so much for listening. This is episode number 147. My name is Adam Patterson. With me today, my partner in crime, my golden eagle, Kevin Rakestraw. How you doing, Kevin?
Golden eagle, indeed. I like that. Let's keep it. Let's keep it. From henceforth, I am golden
henceforth, eagle. Kevin will be known as Golden Eagle. Or Eagle.
Or Eagle. Or just Kevin.
Or just Kevin. Or Coach.
One of those four.
So this week on the show, we'll be talking about 3 awards hopefuls with Foxcatcher, Whiplash, and Leviathan. Of course, we'll also be going over this week's movie predictions, new on video on demand and DVD and Blu-ray releases. Remember, you can send us your questions to podcast@filmpulse.net or leave a comment on the site. We'd love to hear from you. So before we get into it, couple news bits. We got some in-house items. We got some big news. Most importantly, this whole business with Sony and their response to the threats that were put out there from this hacker group. And basically, they said, unless you pull the interview from theaters, we're going to do a 9/11 style attack on movie theaters across the country, which, I mean, Homeland Security came out and said that it's not a credible threat.
Yeah.
And to my knowledge, here's what happened. So Sony said, they came out and they said, if you're a movie theater and you're concerned about it, you can pull the movie, no hard feelings. So all the big theater chains, AMC, Regal, Carmike, I'm missing a couple there, Cinemark, and there's like another one in there somewhere. But all the big theater chains pulled the movie. And then Sony came out and said, you know what? Screw it. We're just going to pull it from all theaters.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of backlash on that decision.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about this?
I mean, come on. Are you serious? You're going to pull the whole film? Give me a break.
And not only that, but at first they said, so Variety reported that they were looking into releasing it on VOD, but then later Sony came out and said, oh, no VOD distributor will have us. They won't. And I'm like, that's bullshit.
Yeah, that's
complete bullshit. They can release that on VOD if they want. I mean, all they have to do is put it out on a website. You know what I mean? Like, put it out on Vimeo on demand.
Yeah.
That's a self-publisher.
I mean, they could have done that for like $10.
Yeah.
And I bet you any money, they would have made more money than if it played in theaters.
Yeah, that's what I said, because Ernie said something on Facebook about it, and I said, you know what? If they put it out on VOD, charge like $10 for it, they would recoup a lot of their losses from pulling it from theaters, and more people would see it just out of spite. Even if people weren't interested in seeing the movie in theaters, they'd see it on demand, just out of spite. And it's also interesting that this is getting such attention from the government. And, Obama came out and he had a statement on it.
I lost it when that happened.
He was basically like, Sony, you done fucked up.
I was just like, you have the president discussing The Interview.
Yeah.
A movie with Seth Rogen and James Franco. Are you kidding me? Like, what?
What kind of topsy-turvy world? And the other interesting thing that I found about this is that this is one of the very, very few topics that's being discussed recently in our country that's got bipartisan support. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Democrats and Republicans are coming together, and they're like, Sony, you fucked up.
Who would have thought a Seth Rogen comedy would bring the country together? Oh, my. Fantastic.
I do think it's interesting just how, I'm trying to look at it from Sony's perspective. They're like, there were these threats made. We don't want to mess with that. It's a huge liability issue. What if something does happen? Blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, it's like, you can't be doing that because now they have the upper hand. They have the ability to walk all over you because of this.
Yeah.
And they did come out with a follow-up statement saying, okay, now that you pulled it from theaters, we don't want to see it ever. You can't put it out on DVD. You can't put it out on VOD. Any website that shows clips, trailers, any pirate sites that put it up, nothing. You can't have it anywhere. This movie no longer exists.
Yeah, didn't see that coming.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, come on. That's ridiculous. And I was pretty excited to see that movie, too.
I actually have to say I had no interest in this movie at all. I thought the premise was just absolutely stupid, and I had
Well,
no
it's
interest.
ridiculous.
Yeah, I have no interest in seeing it, but I must say that now I want to see it very badly.
So furthermore, to make things even more ridiculous, Draft House, the Alamo Draft House came out, and they said, okay, you know what? Instead of showing the interview, we're going to show Team America, the Trey Parker, Matt Stone movie. And they planned on showing that in their theaters, and then Paramount came out and pulled that and didn't allow them to play that.
What the hell is going
Yeah.
on?
I was like, what is this? What is happening here?
What's going on?
This is ridiculous.
Come on, guys. Get it together.
I think Roper came out with a video talking about this, and it was very kind of a poignant video about a lot of people look at this as just not a big deal. It's just a dumb screwball comedy. They didn't plan on it making a ton of money to begin with.
Yeah.
So what's the big deal? But this sets a very dangerous precedent, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it's definitely a dark day for Hollywood. I would say that.
What the hell?
Yeah. So let's talk about this challenge that we set here.
Oh, boy.
Because we didn't even really talk about this in person. We just kind of started setting it up through Letterboxd and through text messages and stuff like that.
This got kind of out of hand. This got completely out of hand. I just wanted some suggestions for my viewing resolutions, and I get hit with Tyler Perry. Then I get hit with you, like 25 films on the side, which I've never even done the 50 films that I set up for myself each year. I always fail. So now I have even more challenges that I'm going to fail at.
The way I looked at it, so when I saw that you were looking for suggestions, I was like, well, I got some suggestions for him. I have some suggestions. Because you always, it seems like you want to make this list.
Yeah, I always
and
go
you want
for things that I don't watch normally.
Right. You're always trying to broaden your horizons, but at the same time, most of what you pick is still within your wheelhouse. And
a little bit, yeah. I mean,
and I was like,
this,
you know what?
This year was mostly just directors that I haven't watched that are considered important. So I was trying to chop those off the list. You got to understand, I have a huge, huge backlog of things that I don't have any knowledge of or viewing experiences. There's so much stuff. And I'm even finding more things that I didn't even know of. You know what I mean? Like people are suggesting things that I didn't even know were genres.
Right. Well, that's the cool thing about Letterboxd is it helps expand your viewing knowledge and helps you learn about all these new and interesting genres and filmmakers.
Oh, yeah.
And, production houses and all this great stuff. So anyway, I was like, you know what? I'm going to challenge him to 25 movies of my choosing, and this will really broaden his horizons. So I made a little video of it, and then
I love the fact that you made a video. I love your video, by the way. It got me kind of pumped up for my challenge.
It's going to be a fun challenge.
I'm looking forward to it.
It's going to be a very fun challenge. So check out the video, and then you came back and you challenged me, which I fully expected.
Yes.
So you can go, those of you listening, you can go to the site and look at the 25 movies I picked for Kevin and vice versa.
I must point out that my initial list was like, it was a dick move, and I had to like bring myself down because I made it like hard. It was like 5 Lav Diaz movies and like 5 Bellatars and like nothing but experimental cinema. But I was like, nah, I can't do that to him. I got to bring it down a little bit.
That's the thing. With the challenge that I gave you, I wasn't trying to be a dick about it.
No.
I wasn't trying to be like, I'm going to pick the worst of the worst and make him do that. I was genuinely trying to make it the most fun that I could. And when you watch a lot of these movies like the canon, I pick nothing but action movies.
I know. I'm very excited about that. that portion of it.
And I picked one that stars John Voight, one stars Stallone, one that stars Chuck Norris. I tried to mix it up the best I could with that. So
Now,
I think it's gonna be fun.
interestingly enough, my challenge for you is also extremely fun, but I have a different sense of what's fun.
I'm looking forward to it. I really am. I'm not.
Let me know. There's a couple films on there that you might have trouble finding. Let me know. I have them on DVD, and I can ship them to you. I can hook you up.
I feel like
It's gonna be interesting.
now are there any? Because I didn't previously give you the list. Are there any movies that I gave you that you've already seen?
There is one, Forbidden Planet. I have seen that one.
Oh, okay.
So we might need a
Yeah, I might have to come up with a replacement for
little
that.
substitute for that
I
one.
actually do have backups that I made.
Is one The Blob?
No, what was it? I'll have to look it up. I have the list written down somewhere,
Okay.
and I'll look it up. But I think I had a couple of the sci-fi ones as backups.
Okay.
Now that's a genre like the old stuff, 50s, 60s sci-fi.
Yeah.
That's not a genre that I'm very familiar with. So actually, with a lot of these that I gave you, I'm looking forward to seeing them myself because there are a few of them that I haven't seen.
There's actually the same thing goes for your list. There's a couple of them on there that I haven't seen, but I plan to watch in the coming year. So should be fun to have some discussion.
It's gonna be a fun year, very fun year. All right, let's go ahead and jump into our first review. I was thinking we could kind of go in chronological order as far as the release dates and do Whiplash, Foxcatcher, Leviathan.
Let's do it.
All right. So first up, we have Whiplash. This is directed by Damien Chazelle and also written by Damien Chazelle. I have a synopsis here. A promising young drummer enrolls at a cutthroat music conservatory where his dreams of greatness are mentored by an instructor who will stop at nothing to realize a student's potential. This stars Miles Teller and J.K. Simmons. Now, I saw this at Sundance, like I said last week. Kevin, we'll start with you. Whiplash, what do you think?
Now, first off, I gotta ask, did you rewatch?
I did rewatch.
Okay.
Yes, I did. Yes, I rewatched.
Okay. For me, I was very excited. I love jazz. Love it. Big time. I was very excited to watch this one. I'm a fan of J.K. Simmons, and everyone's, lauding his performance here. So expectations were pretty high. Plus, you throw in a little Paul Reiser.
Who was really good in it.
Yeah, he was good in it. For me, it's a bit too safe in execution. The script is just a bit too safe. It just hits all the beats, just goes through it. I was completely with it until the scene with Miles Teller driving to the competition, and two of the songs that he's playing in this movie are called Whiplash and Caravan, and he gets T-boned by a truck. So in a sense, he gets whiplash from a caravan, and his car flips. He doesn't have a seatbelt on, and he just crawls out and runs to the competition. And I was just like, "Oh, are you kidding me? Are you serious? Come on!" But
that shows his dedication, and his drive.
Sure. It's just a bit too neat for me, and a bit too safe. But I do have to say, even considering that, it is a well-made film. The performances are good, and man, does it pay off with that ending. Just the interplay between J.K. and Miles at the end there, that made up for a lot, I gotta say.
So this was, when we did our mid-year top 10s, this was a runner-up of mine. It wasn't on the top 10. I will say, after rewatching it, it's going to make it on my top 10. I had a blast with this, rewatching it. The powerful performances in this movie. I mean, J.K. Simmons, holy shit. I mean, I would be scared if I was Miles Teller. I would be scared to act in a room with him because he was that intense in this movie. I mean, like, in the back of my mind, I would know that it's just J.K. Simmons acting. But at the same time, I'd be scared shitless because he's like in your face screaming at you and just tearing you apart. I thought that all of the drumming scenes looked amazing.
They were fantastic. When the music
And
when the music comes out in this film, that's where it really shines.
yeah,
All those scenes with the music, with the band playing, Teller drumming, that's where it's at. Everything
and I
outside of that was a bit much for me. And the other thing for me was going into it just knowing the synopsis. I knew exactly what this film was going to be, and it was exactly what I thought it was going to be. It was extremely predictable.
well,
Just
I went see when I first saw it, I didn't know anything about it. And seeing it in a theater, if you can see it in a theater, please do, because this is one where when you hear that sound, it is so loud.
yes,
And
I wish I had a better sound system to hear this sucker on.
I mean,
Because
it
it would have been
really,
fantastic.
yeah, it really gets to you when you're in a theater environment watching this. I thought that there were a number of things that happened in this movie that kind of did subvert my expectations, like especially with the relationship he had with the girl.
That
How
was the only thing that threw me for a loop. That
how
was
he
the only
just
thing where he just came out and said,
yeah,
because you thought it was going to go down that road, and he
right.
just sort of Chazelle just sort of like fast forwards through that part, just cuts it out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're not going to do this.
And that's not, to me, that wasn't typical of these types of movies. I mean, structurally, this movie is very much like a sports movie, right? It plays like a sports film
Yes.
where, you have this promising young person, athlete, musician, what have you, that is coming up against a very domineering teacher, and he's just trying to make it. He's trying to do it. He's trying to be the best.
Trying to turn him into the next Charlie Parker.
And I think that it's interesting to see that he from the very beginning he puts the drumming before anything else. Like, he is 100% dedicated to it, and he knows this, and he has to tell his loved ones and what have you that this is it. Like, I can't get distracted. And you don't normally see that in movies. Movies like this, typically they try to juggle it, and it always ends badly.
Yeah. One of the things that I had a problem with is they made Miles Teller's character of Andrew. It seemed like he was the only one at Schaefer that was driven. Like, anytime that you see any of the other students, they're just talking about chicks and getting laid, and they just don't really care. And he was the only one that was like driven. And I'm thinking, if this is the best school for music, Miles Teller's not going to be the only person that is completely driven.
Yeah, I'm sure that's true, but at the same time, you're still dealing with young people, and I think that that's what sets him apart from a lot of these other students, is that they have lives outside of music. Music is their passion. That's what they want to do. But for him, that's it. That's his entire focus on life. And I think that's kind of atypical for most people of that age.
I don't think so.
I think it is.
I think there's a lot of completely driven people that just put the blinders on.
I never met anybody that was like that.
But I mean,
nobody at Dallastown High School was like that. That's for sure.
But this is what I'm saying. This isn't Dallastown High School. That's why they sort of made it seem like a high school. But you're talking about the top music school in the country. There's going to be more than one person that's completely driven, like Miles Teller's character is. I mean, the other guy's like, as soon as the other character gets the folder and he gives it to Miles, you're like, well, Miles is going to lose it. And then, of course, the guy's like, oh, I don't know how to play without my visual cues. And you're just like, come on.
Well,
this guy can't memorize music? Like, why the hell is he in the best school?
Apparently not. That's why he got kicked out. But this is also just a very small kind of part of this school too. I mean, there's a lot of it that we didn't get to see. True. This is studio band or whatever they called it, right?
Yeah.
And
this is just, for me, it was just a bit too safe. It was like, if we have to, and this is even mentioned in the film, like if I had to liken it to a jazz artist, this is Wynton Marsalis. Just rigorous, structured, and just safe. There's no wildness to it. There's no heart to it. I was kind of disappointed. But still, I gotta say, it's still exceptionally well made. J.K. Simmons nails it. The drumming sequences are fantastic. So I was kind of like torn. I wasn't a big fan of the narrative that's going on because it's so predictable, but at the same time, it's jazz drumming. So I'm just like, I don't care. I just want to see jazz drumming. Give it to me.
This it should also be mentioned that this is Damien Chazelle's feature debut. He previously did a short film called Whiplash that was made into this feature length. And now I haven't seen the short film, but I know that it also stars J.K. Simmons in the
Okay.
same role.
All right.
But
I'm gonna have to check that out.
as far as the feature debut,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep. Yeah.
yep,
I'll give it to him. I'll give it to him. I mean, but there is a section towards the end after J.K. Simmons, something kind of unfortunate
mm-hmm.
happens to him, and he meets up with Miles a little bit later, and they're having a discussion, and J.K. Simmons is kind of talking about like why jazz is dying, and he's talking about Charlie Parker, the story of Charlie Parker, and how he pushed his students because he wanted to find the next great person. And I'm thinking this film doesn't kind of realize that you're not gonna find a Charlie Parker in a music school. That's not where you're gonna find the next great jazz artist. Those types of people don't go to jazz school or music conservatories.
I think that maybe in the back of his mind, J.K. Simmons knew that. Because, I mean, you look at all the greats, and it's not like well, I graduated top of my class at
Yeah.
music school.
That's what I mean. Like, imagine like Rashawn Roland Kirk just rolling up into J.K. Simmons's class with like four saxophones wrapped around his neck. J.K. Simmons is gonna be like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
But still, at the same time, if you're Miles Teller and you want to be the greatest jazz drummer of the modern era, what do? You know what I mean? Like, of course, you're going to try to do everything you can to achieve that. And if going to the best music school in the country is going to help you get closer to that, then you're going to do it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, while I agree with you that they probably won't, be churning out the next great jazz drummer from this school or whatever, I think that what's the alternative? For him to be like,
the alternative is just doing it, man. That's what it's about. It's just doing it, just playing. That's what I mean. That's what's killing jazz is that you've taken an art form and then you've built schools around it. Like,
but at the same time,
we're gonna take jazz drumming 101. No,
these schools, though, I mean, it's not like they're necessarily, at least from what I saw in the movie, they're not being taught things. They're just playing and practicing and getting better. A lot of the stuff, it seems like one of the main reasons to go to the schools to get connections and network and get yourself.
That's the only reason to go to any schools, really. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But the only interesting thing that I did like was the end. The payoff in this movie is just fantastic. That last performance just fucking goes nuts, and that's where it does kind of break free a little bit, where Miles Teller takes over.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that plays out is just unbelievable. That whole sequence at the end, man, that made up for a lot. I gotta say, that was one hell of an ending. Just the way they did it.
After that's over, you're out of breath.
Yeah.
You're tired. You're ready for a nap.
And you're just
after that.
Man, he killed it. And he's winding down the drum at his crazy solo, and he's winding it down. And you're like, okay, it's over. And then they just full blast into the song. And then, they go into the song for maybe half a minute, and then the movie just stops.
Yeah.
Just like,
I love it.
Damn, that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted, and he gave it to me. So I had problems with the film, but overall it was a hell of an experience. I did enjoy myself. Even though, I'm sitting here and I'm pointing out flaws and stuff. But overall, it's a good time.
That's what you're supposed to do, I guess.
I guess. I don't know.
I didn't have many flaws with it. I'm gonna stick with my. Do you have any final thoughts before we give a score to this?
I just want to say that I'm really excited about jazz and films this year.
Yeah, we have
Birdman, Whiplash, Birdman, the Listen Up Phillips soundtrack. Mm-hmm. Ida has some Coltrane in it. I like it. I like this comeback with jazz.
Very cool.
Keep it up.
So I'm gonna stick with my original. When I wrote my original review for this, and I gave it an 8.5.
You give it an 8.5. Okay. Oh, I think I'm gonna go with a 7. Even though I had problems with it, the performances and the drumming sequences they override a lot. They made up for a lot of it.
Okay, there you go. Whiplash, that had a wider rollout over the last couple weeks, so I would say check your listings, see if it's still playing in your area. I would highly recommend seeking it out in theaters if you get a chance. Let's move on to our next movie. We're talking about Foxcatcher. This is directed by Bennett Miller. I have a synopsis here. The greatest Olympic wrestling champion brother team
Yeah.
joins Team Foxcatcher, led by multimillionaire sponsor John E. DuPont, as they train for the 1988 Games in Seoul, a union that leads to unlikely circumstances. What leads to unlikely circumstances. What does that even mean? Unlikely circumstances.
Yeah, very unlikely.
All right. This stars Channing Tatum, Steve Carell, Mark Ruffalo, Sienna Miller's in there for a very short time, Vanessa Redgrave, Anthony Michael Hall.
He does pop up.
He does. So I'll start it off with this one. Now, I wasn't a huge fan of Moneyball. That was Bennett Miller's last movie. And I wasn't a huge fan of this one either.
Okay. All right.
It was okay. I didn't have much of a problem with it, and I'll say this. I thought that the performances were awesome. I thought that Channing Tatum, most notably Channing Tatum and Mark Ruffalo, with Steve Carell, I felt like he did a good job, but at the same time, I felt like he was putting on a character. I couldn't disconnect Steve Carell from John DuPont. You know what I mean? Like, I felt like it was just him putting on a performance.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but I couldn't separate the two.
Well, I gotta say that, I mean, I'm glad that you said what you said performance-wise, because a lot of people have been talking about, oh, Ruffalo is amazing and Steve Carell is amazing, but the one that really struck me was Channing Tatum. I thought he was head and shoulders above the other two.
That one scene, there's one scene.
Oh yeah,
not a big spoiler or anything. It's in a hotel room.
Yes, correct.
That scene, right then and there, I was like, okay, the Channing Tatum is
He's
made it.
Because I mean, let's be honest, Ruffalo's character it's Ruffalo. It's like every other Ruffalo that every movie he's been in. But he always plays kind of the same character. He does a little more physicality wise.
It's the subtleties, though.
It is the subtleties, but again, I didn't think it was anything amazing. It's still a solid performance. Don't get me wrong, I'm not completely knocking it, but it didn't blow me away. And then with Steve Carell's character, again, solid performance, but really the only thing he's doing is just he has an unusual cadence to his voice.
Yeah.
And he says some odd things, and that's about it. And he has a weird way of walking.
Yes. Well, that's the whole thing about this movie is it's very creepy. I got the whole time I was watching this movie, I just got this creepy vibe to it.
It's very creepy. And especially because let's throw this out here real quick. Did you know the story of...
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I did.
I did as well. All right.
So I knew what happened. It doesn't make it any less shocking when it does happen in the movie, though.
No, it doesn't.
The way that they handled that and the way that they shot that, it all felt very real and just awful. So I thought that they did a really good job with that. It was just an awkward movie. Everything about it was weird and creepy. And I know that's the tone they were going for. But I had a lot of problems with trying to figure out how much time had passed and where we were at in the story and the motivations of these characters. I was having a real hard time because something happens and then Channing Tatum his character changes completely. He just does a 180.
Well, that's because they bring in his brother. He was trying to get out from underneath the shadow, which is kind of what DuPont was feeding him to keep him there. And then all of a sudden DuPont brings in his brother, and he just sort of, I think it was kind of like a betrayal for Mark Schultz that his brother is now coming in and kind of taking over, and he's regulated back to the shadow, which I think is kind of what
I don't know
what ticked him off a little bit.
Because it seemed like he at first was trying to get his brother to come on board.
He was.
And then when his brother does come on board, he just shuts down completely.
I think that's kind of what it was. I think Dave kind of understood. Well, I mean, we're going by the film rendition here. They made it look like, Dave saw it as an opportunity for Mark to kind of break off and do his own thing, establish himself. And then, of course, Mark gets kind of fed that from DuPont, like as he's working on the farm and everything, and he's training the Olympic athletes and everything. And then all of a sudden, DuPont just brings Dave in, and he just kind of shuts down.
Yeah, but I think that they were also trying to. It almost seemed like, because it happened, he started acting weird after the whole night practice thing with
Yeah.
DuPont. So it almost seemed like they were trying to imply that there was some sexual abuse that was happening as well.
Well, I mean, you have male wrestling, so
Yeah,
it kind of has
of
that
course.
inherent homoeroticism in there, and they kind of shoot it that way from the beginning. That it's just all the wrestling is just kind of uncomfortable, especially when DuPont's involved. Just feels really weird. As in,
Oh,
like
the,
why is he so interested in wrestling? And
well,
that time when they're kind of having their party about him winning the nationals or the worlds or whatever it is, and he just starts wrestling with guys. It's just
that
like
scene, oh my
it's
God.
just like this is kind of like this is weird.
I just wanted to leave the room when that scene was happening. It's just I couldn't take it. I think the one of the most awkward scenes is the one where his mom comes in and he's wearing the pads
Yeah,
and
the
the whole
short shorts.
the sing or the yeah, all of that, and he's trying to show them moves, and his mom's sitting there watching. That
Yeah.
was just oh. Ooh.
And I mean, you gotta kind of understand too. I mean, he had a very weird upbringing,
Well,
especially in
yeah,
which they kind of touch on upon it a little bit, where he's talking about, he only had one friend growing up.
and it was yeah, and he found out that he was being
Being,
paid.
yeah, he's being paid, and then DuPont goes into like wrestling himself, and you see, his opponents being paid off.
Yeah.
It's
I'm wondering if he knew about that or
he
if he
might,
did not know about that.
which
That was
I gotta say that was kind of the interesting thing that Bennett Miller did here is he kind of just alludes to thing. He doesn't come out and say like, okay, this happened because of this reason. He just, sort of throws little bits out there, implying things, and lets you come to, your own conclusion of what, character motivations and what have you,
yeah.
which I thought was kind of interesting. I like that.
I liked the conversation that he had with his mom about the train set
Yes.
because
It shows you like what we're dealing with here.
it shows you that I mean he's still a child. He's like I don't know how old he was during this time, in his 50s or something, and
Yeah.
he was still a child.
Well, and I think that's what maybe drew those two together, him and Mark Schultz. He's John DuPont's trying to get out of the shadow of his mother, of the family, and trying to do his
Right.
own thing, and he's trying to do that with
But
Mark by his side. And then for some reason, he just brings Ruffalo's character and David, and just everything falls apart.
yes, but also he's also trying to he's trying to seek the approval of his mother too.
Yeah. Oh,
Just
yeah.
constantly trying to seek her approval and try to make her proud of him. So that's why he's like trying to win these awards and do all this stuff and show her that he's a great wrestling coach, even though he doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
He's the
Exactly.
worst wrestling coach ever.
Well, he tells you how to drag that, rip it across. I mean,
Yep.
that's a solid move right there. You got
Yep.
that's
Gotta drag it and rip it.
That's fundamentals, buddy.
Just drag it and rip it.
The biggest thing for me the thing that I enjoyed the most outside of the performances were number one, the way that he filmed a lot of the wrestling practices and such, especially the first one between Tatum and Ruffalo, where things kind of get out of hand.
Yeah.
I love that it's slow, it's deliberate, there's no music to it, it's just those two going at it.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked a lot of the quiet moments where there's people having conversations off in the distance, but you can't hear anything. I just like the way that he kind of made those scenes more subdued instead of, giving it that grandiose musical score that so many other films do.
Yeah, I mean, it was very matter of fact.
Yeah. Kept it all kind of like seething underneath.
Yeah, yeah.
At least for me,
I
because
liked that.
I knew how it was going to end. So you're
Right.
you're waiting.
Now, there were a lot of differences. Now, I know most movies do this when we're talking about true stories, but there were a lot of things about this movie that were slightly skewed from the real story. And there were certain things that they omitted, and I can understand why, just time constraints, and I think that Bennett Miller tried to keep the film focused, although I do feel that it started losing its focus at times. But John DuPont wasn't just into wrestling; like, he was into swimming too. He had a swim team that he also coached.
Dude, he's an ornithologist.
Yeah,
He's a philatelist.
Philanthropist, ornithologist, philatelist. That scene just went on way too long.
Yeah, it's cocaine. It's just cocaine. Just put it in your nose. That for whatever reason that scene just had me rolling. That's one of those that broke me down.
I thought the funniest scene was when he said, "You don't have to call me Mr. DuPont. You can call my friends me Gold Eagle or Golden Eagle, or John or Coach." That was my favorite line in the whole movie.
Oh God, just the look on Tatum's face, dude.
And I wanted so bad for him to call him Golden Eagle for the rest of the movie.
I know. I wish he.
Hey, Golden Eagle. Hey, Golden Eagle.
And I don't know. Maybe that's what it's implied there, is no one called him Golden Eagle after that. That's kind of what made him snap. Who knows?
Maybe. Actually, I do know what made him snap in real life. It was because Dave Schultz was leaving to teach at Stanford, and John DuPont looked at him as one of his only true friends, and he was leaving to teach at Stanford.
Yeah. Which
they don't say that in the movie, though.
No, they don't say that. Plus, they also don't really set it up as like him and Dave Schultz being really that friendly.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you have...
And that's the other thing. In real life, I read that Dave Schultz was very hesitant to go there to begin with. He never liked John DuPont, and he really struggled with the idea of going and working for him. Yeah. He never liked him, and he didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
And it seems, in the way that they presented in the movie, it seems like at first he was like, nah, but then eventually he just was like, all right.
Yeah, that was kind of abrupt, the way that he just comes in.
That was the main issue I had with the movies. I didn't feel like as much as they explore the characters, I feel like the emotional attachment between each of the characters and the connections that they had I just didn't feel like it was fully developed enough. And I know that's a really weird criticism, and probably something that's difficult to do given all the information that they had to pack into this movie.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I guess I just wanted a little bit more understanding of why these characters did these things in this movie.
Yeah, but I think that's one of those things that we'll never know.
Well, I think for a lot of the stuff we do know, but
I mean, like motivations and stuff, and actual, relationships between each other. It's all kind of like speculation.
Yeah, I would like to read the book and see what Mark Schultz says in the book, because I bet that explains things a little bit better. Now, I did actually watch the documentary. Now, in the movie, there's a part where they're making a documentary similar to they did the same thing in The Fighter, actually.
Yeah.
And I believe it was the same one, and it was ridiculous.
Was it?
Yeah.
Does he call himself Golden Eagle throughout?
No, he doesn't.
Okay.
He doesn't. The other thing was, this is kind of a spoiler if you don't know the real story of what happened, but let's just say something happens with John DuPont and he gets arrested. And in the movie, they catch him right away, but in real life, he was at large for a while.
Well, he was like locked in his house for like 2 days.
Yeah,
I think the only reason they got him because they like turned off.
They turned off the heat.
Yeah, he just like walks out. He walks out to fix his heat, and they just bum rush him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something happened. I don't know if if it was always there or something snapped in him that he became
I think it was always
mentally
there.
unsound. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because they didn't explore this in the movie either because it happened years before all this stuff. But he was married for a short time, and his wife left him because she thought that he was going to kill her. And they were only married for like 3 months or something because he was abusive to her and he threatened to kill her and all this stuff. So it was there.
Yeah.
But you just didn't find out in the movie until later. It seemed like he just kind of snapped, but I think it was always there.
Yeah,
I mean, the guy,
I think maybe in the film they were just going for like a more like it was more cinematic that way to have
Right.
his instability be a little more subtle. You know, where the exchanges and interactions are just a bit off.
right.
You're just
Yep.
like, is this guy just an eccentric old money rich guy, or is something seriously wrong here?
I think when he buys the tank, you know that there's something.
And he's pissed off that it doesn't have a gun.
The gun
machine
doesn't
gun
include the
attached to it.
gun. Oh boy, what a weirdo.
Old money people. I'm telling you.
Yeah, yeah. He was a scumbag. That guy.
Well, it's always funny because rich people are always labeled as eccentric. But if you're poor, you're just fucking insane. Like, if you acted the way that he acted, you're just crazy. But if you have money, you're eccentric.
Yeah. I don't really have anything else to add. I liked it. I believe I liked it more than what a lot of people are saying about it. I feel like it's getting kind of middle of the road.
Yeah, yeah.
Reviews.
I like the execution of it. I was really impressed by the execution, the quietness to it, the subdued nature. You know, not having music and letting things play out in silence and just.
Like everything felt washed out too.
Yeah.
Like the colors, they made sure that everything was washed out. It felt very 80s without hammering you over the head with the fact that it was the 80s. sort of like A Most Violent Year, actually.
Okay, I'm looking forward to that bad boy right there.
Yes, it's a very drab, colorless movie, much like sort of like the next one we're going to talk about too.
Oh boy.
Let's go ahead and give Foxcatcher a score out of 10. Kevin, what are you saying on Foxcatcher?
Foxcatcher. Whew. This one's tough. I think I'm gonna go 8.
8? I'm going to give it a 7.5.
Okay. I was thinking about that for a second.
Thinking about
The old
7.5?
The old 7.5.
Well,
I was reaching for it.
you're committed to the 8 now, so
Damn it.
that's what you have to live with. You made your bed, now sleep in it.
I hate all my decisions.
Me too. All right, let's move on to our third movie of the day, Leviathan. This is not the Peter Weller one, and it is also not the GoPro one. This is the Russian one.
A lot of Leviathans going on.
Lots of Leviathans happening. So I have a synopsis here. Oh, it's directed by Andrei Zvagintsev.
That sounds pretty
It's so funny because I was literally practicing saying the name before we started recording, and
it doesn't help, does it?
Nope.
I do the same thing. It doesn't help.
Zvagintsev.
Nailed it.
God. Pathetic. It's pathetic. Terrible and pathetic. I have a synopsis here. In a Russian coastal town, Kolya is forced to fight the corrupt mayor when he is told that his house will be demolished. He recruits a lawyer friend, Dmitry, to help, but the man's arrival brings further misfortune for Kolya and his family. So, Kevin, we'll go ahead and start it with you. What do you think of Leviathan?
Leviathan. Oh, man. I'm torn on this one.
Well, I can tell you right now, I have 2 separate reviews. I have
You have 2?
I have Critic Adam review, and I have Adam the Person review.
I look forward to both. I'm a big fan of this director. I enjoyed Alina. I enjoyed The Return, and I really truly feel that he has a masterpiece within him that's going to come out. And I thought from what everyone was saying, you know, the critical praise that was coming out for this movie, I thought this was the one. I was really excited for it. I couldn't wait to get into it.
This is on the Oscar shortlist
It's
for
on
Best Foreign Films.
And pretty much every review that I've seen for it has been very positive.
100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah. So I thought that this was the masterpiece. I thought he finally did it. he did it 4 movies deep in his filmography. But I gotta say, it left a little bit to be desired. I
Of
wasn't that enthralled by it. The cinematography in it didn't really grip me like his other movies. And I don't, it could be a lot of this could stem from the fact that I don't have a great understanding of what's going on in Russia. So
yep.
maybe some of this is
And
going over my head
yes.
because, I don't live there. I don't know what's going on. Um, but there is buried underneath of what's kind of surface level, the whole Leviathan and Job and everything. There is
Hmm.
a little more to unpack, and maybe with the second viewing, I'm gonna see some things, or maybe, a couple of days from now when I keep thinking about this film, I'll come around to it. But I gotta say, I was kind of middle of the road with this one.
Yeah. So I agree. And here's why I would say that I have kind of two reviews for this movie. One is the me being as objective as I can and giving like a critical review of this. For that side of it, I would say that this movie is very well made. I think that it's interesting how they took the Book of Job and kind of transplanted it into modern Russia and basically made it a kind of a story about the problems with modern Russia and the problems with the government and religion and how this all fits in, and the fact that a man who does no wrong can have this kind of shit happen to him
Yeah.
and just piles on and on and on. And I actually thought that the cinematography was fantastic in this movie. But on the other side, just me personally, oh, and also, yeah, for me personally, I would say that, like you said, I don't have an attachment to modern Russia. I don't live there. I've never been there. And so for me, it's hard to relate to a lot of what's being said in this movie.
Hmm.
Now, I can appreciate the way that they're presenting it and what they're saying, but at the same time, I have a disconnect.
Yeah. I mean,
And
I will readily admit my ignorance when it comes. Now, the only thing that I did kind of know about from watching some other films is, how the government is kind of tied to the religion and they're
right,
kind of one and
yeah,
the same and
yeah.
they work for each other. So I knew that portion of it. But everything else was kind of like I don't really know about. It's kind of dealing with, I don't know what they call it in Russia, but it's like eminent domain type deal.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that really works out.
But it also deals with a lot of corruption with
Yes,
government
that
officials,
too.
because the guy that they're trying to fight against is extremely corrupt. And so it deals with that as well. And I think that it tries to draw comparisons with current Russian leaders and things like that. I mean, you see the Putin portraits everywhere in every room, and then also that scene where they are shooting and they have the portraits
They
of the
pull out a,
previous leaders, Stalin, Lenin, and all that.
and then Yeltsin's in there.
Yeah. So I found this movie, just for me personally, I thought that it was way too dry. It was just nothing happened in this movie, and I was so bored for a lot of it.
Yeah.
It was entirely, it was a no burn. It was a no burn.
How about I was during the scenes where the judges or justices or whatever you want to call them are kind of just rattling off
Reading yeah.
the long-winded, lawyer speak. I was just during those all those sequences, I was just thinking, I wonder what Adam's thinking right now. What's
Well,
going
see,
through his head when he's
well, to
watching this
me,
sequence?
actually, those scenes when they were reading off all of the charges and then the different affidavits and whatever the hell, I found those scenes to actually be more enjoyable because they were much faster as far as the dialogue, and I also felt like something was getting done.
Yeah.
I was learning something. I felt like during those scenes the story was progressing. It was moving forward. We were learning more because if you remember, it's not until that very first court scene that we even know what the hell's really going on
Yeah,
in
that's
this
true.
movie.
That's very true. You sort
So
of get dumped in the middle of this, and you really have
during
no
that
idea.
first during that first scene in the court where the woman's basically telling them that they're screwed and that everything that they did is for nothing. I felt like that was actually a very good scene. I enjoyed that because it was I was learning so much from that little scene. Whereas the rest of the movie, when it's mostly just them hanging out, having conversations, drinking an ungodly amount of vodka.
Which is funny because to them it just seemed like that's just everyday vodka.
That's every day. That's just normal. They're like, whatever. We're not alcoholics. This is normal.
Which tells me I need to move to Russia.
Yeah.
Get in with these guys.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
No one.
I did like
bats an eye.
I did like the initial scene when they had the confrontation with the corrupt official guy, and they were drunk, and he was drunk, and everybody was drunk. I did like that. I liked it when they were exploring how the son, Roma, was dealing with all of this. And I wanted a little bit more of his story and to see how he was kind of dealing with everything that was going on, because, you know, he was affected by all of this, and yet he had very little to do with it. You know what I mean? Like, he had no say in it. Yeah. Which I think is an interesting way to look at it, where all this terrible stuff's happening to
Goya.
Oh yeah. And he actually has the ability to fight it. Like, he can actually at least attempt to do something. And I mean that with the relationship with his wife, and then also what's happening with his home. He has the ability to fight, and yet Roma, his son, he's just got to observe what's going on, you know? And I think that it's really frustrating for him, and that's why we see him lashing out and all that stuff. Yeah. And I kind of wanted a little bit more with the son.
I can see that. Now, the thing that I liked about Leviathan is two sequences that I thoroughly enjoy. One is the kind of picnic, the birthday picnic, where they're out shooting guns and just drinking bottle after bottle of vodka. And there's just so much tension in that scene because they're drinking shit tons of vodka, they have guns,
and they show the waterfall.
Yeah, you're just waiting for something to happen.
You know, yeah.
And just the way that whole thing played out is that, you know, the kid comes running in and says that, you know, I love that the kid calls the handsome man from Moscow.
From Moscow. Yeah.
Even the kid knows. Even the kid's like, damn, this is a handsome guy. So he comes back and he's like, you know, he's choking this woman, and they run off, and all you hear is the AK-47 fire, and then immediate cut to the mayor discussing things with the religious leader, and just leaving you out to dry. Like, you have no idea all you heard was AK fire, and we're gone. So, like, what the hell happened? Like, did someone get shot? Was he actually choking this one? What the hell's going on? And he takes his time until he actually gets back to that section, and then something that we can't really discuss because it's a spoiler, what happens at the end, but the way that he handled that with the ambiguity of you don't actually know what exactly happened, and it's kind of implied that maybe he's being framed, maybe something else happened. Like, you have no idea what's going on.
That was a really interesting kind of twist where at first you think you know what happens, but then they throw in this little...
Yeah, but
it was like a phone call with someone, and you're just like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah. Maybe.
But still in the back of your head, you're like, they are corrupt as fuck.
Yeah. I thought that was interesting. They never came back to the guy, to Dimitri. Like, they never...
Mm-hmm. Which I thought was very interesting, because you start out this movie with this whole, you know, Koyo's losing his home, kind of an imminent domain type deal, and then all of a sudden it takes this complete 180 shift where it's like, it's about the marriage and everything, and we just kind of forget about the whole fight that's going on to save his home, and then it shifts into something else. It's just, it kept throwing you for a loop and not really giving you that much, you know, to go on. It kept everything very vague.
Now, I have a question for you. Now, I might have to cut this out or bleep it or something, because I don't know if it's a spoiler or not, but when Dimitri was attempting to blackmail this government official and he asked for all this money, are we to presume that he planned on taking the money and keeping it for himself and splitting?
Well, I think that's another brilliant choice that Andre does here, is that he keeps that vague too. you don't know really what his motivation is. Is he going to keep that money, or was he actually getting it for his friend?
Because it seemed like Kolya didn't want any money at all. He wanted his
No,
land. He didn't
no.
care about the money.
But then it did seem like Koya was kind of involved a little bit because he was saying, trust me after this
Right.
initial
And
hearing,
he,
we'll
and
go
he
over some things.
yeah, and he knew that the blackmail was going to take place.
Yes, it was kind of like hey, we're not getting the house. That's not going to happen. It's outside of the realm of possibility. But here's something that we can do. You can at least get more money. Because it was appraised for like 3.5 million, and the government was giving him what, like
Six
35,000 or something?
Well, there was 638,000.
Yeah, he got lowballed big time.
Yeah. Now, it's interesting though because the way that we're describing it, it sounds like it's a pretty, suspenseful movie, but it's actually not.
No,
It's not. It's not as exciting as what we're making it out to be. At least I didn't find it to be very exciting at all. I found it to be just very slow paced and methodical, and it's a very bleak movie too. And when you have a movie that's so bleak and dire, when not a whole lot happens and there's just not a lot of action taking place, so to speak,
Yeah.
the movie just crawls.
And again, it's tough for me to be definitive about, a topic that I don't really have a lot of knowledge in. Like you
Yep.
said, this screenplay, it's a modern reworking of Job, Leviathan. It seems like it makes a lot of sense with the connection with the government and the Russian government being tied with religion and everything, but I don't know how true it is or how damning it is. You know what I mean? It's kind of tough for me, like, oh, the American that doesn't really know about Russian politics. And this is really a damning indictment on the Russian government. I don't know. It's
No,
interesting to
it
look
seems
into,
that
though.
way.
Yeah,
It's
I'll give it that it's enough to pique my interest to dig into it a little bit more.
and I'm sure that there's way more happening, like way more
Exactly.
subtle things that they put in here that we're not picking up on. That
Exactly.
we're seeing all the big things. Obviously
The broad strokes.
when they're shooting portraits of the previous leaders, I'm pretty sure that
That's it.
means something.
Yeah.
And also the brief conversation he has outside the liquor store with the was that the priest guy?
Yeah, yeah.
Guy with the big beard?
Yes.
Was he a priest? I
I don't know what they're
remember
called
if he was a
in
priest or
Russian.
not.
I'm not sure what they're called in Russian Orthodox.
Well, I just didn't remember if that was the same
Father or
character
something
that
like
we saw previously.
Gotcha. I think it is. Maybe
I
it's
thought
not.
it was,
don't
but I
know.
wasn't sure because he was like in plain clothes. At any rate, I can understand why critics are so in love with this movie
Mhm.
because I think that from a storytelling standpoint, from a visual standpoint, even from an acting performances standpoint, it is pretty amazing. But me personally, I just was not on board with most of it. I didn't find and again, maybe if I lived in Russia, I'd be like, this is it. This is speaking to me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I just the connections. I just wasn't. I felt like I've seen this type of movie before. I think even Winter Sleep that just came out this week. I think that it kind of deals with the same topics of like eminent domain and losing your home and all that.
Yeah.
So I just, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I did love the sequence of them tearing down his house
Oh yeah.
because that just came out of
Well,
nowhere.
that's. I want to go back to the visuals because I loved the way this movie looked. I loved everything about it.
Maybe,
I was like, this movie looks fucking gorgeous. Ugh.
maybe I'm coming
Loved it.
around on it a little bit visually. Think about it a little more.
I mean, you have your typical scenes like the one from the poster where he's sitting on the whale bones, but a lot of the smaller, seemingly insignificant scenes, I loved everything about it. I mean, it was mostly due to the location.
Yeah, a lot of it is location, but the cinematographer, Mikhail Krichman, the other films, because he pretty much works exclusively with this director. I'm not even going to try and.
I was waiting for it.
Nah, not happening. his other movies. He does some gorgeous visuals in not in the sense of, like grandiose camera movements, anything like that. It's just what he puts in a frame and the shots that he chooses. They're very interesting. A lot of it comes through in the visual storytelling of what he decides to put in the frame. And one of the things that I thoroughly enjoyed with this movie is how the camera just very, very slowly like
Hmm.
ushers you into the scene, like how it just creeps forward. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that very much.
Yeah. So if you're a fan of cinematography, I say absolutely check this one out. Just don't expect a lot going on in the plot department.
Or a lot if you're Russian.
Or
It's
yeah,
probably to Russians that like, damn, this movie is fucking deep.
I could see it being a
There's
masterpiece,
so many
for
layers.
them.
I could see it too. And I did find it interesting when Koya was drunk. I think he was watching, was it Pussy Riot was on his TV when he was just completely shit-face hammered.
Yeah,
Pussy
I
Riot
think
was
so.
playing on, I guess it was, I don't know if it was like news footage or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
Well,
I'm kind of like, I don't
I
have
was
like
a
a solid opinion of this movie yet.
yeah, I was just expecting more. I thought that there would just be more happening. I mean, very little happens in this movie. I will say that my favorite character though was the one the cop's wife, the one that
Oh
his
yeah,
wife
yeah.
worked with.
Hmm.
I liked her character a lot. I thought she was really funny.
She was fantastic. Uh, I just love that scene where she punches her husband in the face. Just fucking rails him. Uh,
Yeah, I liked that because she added a little bit of levity to everything that was going on
yeah,
in the movie because it is a downer. Ooh,
yeah.
it is. It's one of those rust and bone types where
Hmm.
this poor guy, he's just like one thing after another.
He's not winning anytime soon.
No, no, no.
Oh boy.
All right, so Leviathan, I'm gonna give it. This is a really tough movie to score. If I was writing a review for this movie and trying to be as objective as I could be, I'd probably give it an 8.
Okay.
But just how I personally felt about it, I'm gonna give it a 6.
Okay. All right. I'm going I'm going with a like a 7. I think I'm gonna go a 7. 7, 7.5, that type of thing.
Okay, there you have it. Leviathan is opening this week in select cities, so check that out if it is playing in your area. I mean, it's not as bad as Mr. Turner on the boredom level,
True.
but
True.
I found it to be fairly boring,
Little
honestly.
bit of a chore.
A little bit of a chore.
Yeah, a little
I mean,
bit.
it's not like I regret watching it or wish I didn't or wish I could get that time back.
Yeah.
Like with Mr. Turner, after I was done watching it, I was like, I wish I could get that time back.
Yeah. Yes.
And with this, I don't feel that, but I just
You want
it
maybe like
didn't
a
grab
quarter,
me.
like a quarter of it back?
No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I don't regret watching it at all.
I kind of want
It
to
just
point
didn't
out.
grab me. It
Yeah.
just didn't grab me like
No, I
some
know what you
people.
mean. I just want to point out that like these run times are kind of getting out of hand. Like
Yes, yes.
we gotta cinch these in a little bit. Come on.
I think actually maybe if they shortened the runtime of this movie, it would have been more effective for me.
I think I would agree. And I'm
I think
usually
I think a lot of times the runtime
I,
does actually bring a movie down.
I don't know what it is. I think it's just it seems like this year especially these run times are just getting out of hand. Like every movie's
Yeah.
over 2 hours long.
I feel like a lot of movies these days just overstay their welcome.
Yeah. Ugh. Hmm.
No.
I don't either.
All right, there you have it. That's Leviathan. Now, comparing this to the other Leviathans, where does it stack up?
I've seen only one other Leviathan, which I enjoyed a lot more than this one. But I mean, they're two completely different beasts.
Of course. Of
But,
course.
you know,
I would say I like the other Leviathan better.
and I gotta say, like, out of his films, because I've seen this, Elena, and The Return. I think Elena was much better storytelling wise.
I
But
haven't seen
I
any
don't know. I
of
don't
his
know.
other I haven't seen any of his movies.
It's been a while since I've seen that one, though.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to predictions. Last week we said The Hobbit, the Battle of Five Armies. You said 64, I said 72, actual 60. I didn't end up going to see this. I was going to, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I'm just going to wait until I can watch it at home and pause it if I need to take a nap or get a snack or whatever. I just can't commit to this movie in theaters.
Yeah, I hear you.
I think we do have a review for this up on the site. I have no idea what we gave it. What, I think 6.5 maybe?
6.5? I didn't know we reviewed it.
Yeah, I think Ernie gave it a 6.5.
Okay.
No, he gave it a 5. Sorry.
Ooh. Whew.
Yeah.
Ernie.
So, I don't know. And he's
Ernie's starting to get
he's a big fan.
Yeah.
Of the Hobbit stuff, Tolkien stuff. Night at the Museum, The Secret of the Tomb. You said 26. I said 36. Actual 49.
It's a bit high.
We do not have a review for that one.
Oh, we didn't have anyone go out and see that?
No, I didn't ask anybody to see that one.
That's probably a good idea.
We do have a review for Annie, though. Now, you said 48, I said 53, actual 29.
Ooh.
And we gave it a 4 on the site. That was Blake wrote that review.
Okay.
So next week, we have a ridiculous amount of movies. Now,
are you serious?
I figure we can predict these. I don't know which ones of these will hit a wide release, so I can't say that these are all going to be in your area. Probably the worst ones will be in your area. So,
does seem to work that way, doesn't it?
Oh, I can guarantee the first one. So we have Into the Woods. That will definitely be playing everywhere, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking on this one?
Into the Woods. I'm going to say 65.
I will say 62 on Into the Woods. Not we got a screener for that, but we're probably not gonna watch it. Unbroken. This is the Angelina Jolie directed one. I did watch this.
Oh, you did?
We'll be talking about that next week. Yeah.
Oh boy.
I'm gonna say 58.
58. I'm gonna say 60.
Okay. And then we also have Big Eyes. This is the Tim Burton one.
Yep.
You know, at first I was not interested in this at all, but now I am. I have a slight interest in this one.
Very slight interest. Okay. I'm going to say 52.
52, okay. I will say 64 on that one.
Okay.
We also have The Gambler.
Ooh.
The remake.
Gambler.
Rupert Wyatt directed Gambler remake.
Gambler.
I'll say 52.
I'm going to say 48.
And we also have American Sniper.
Jesus.
I know, the list goes on and on.
God.
American Sniper. This is the Clint Eastwood directed one with Bradley Cooper. I saw this too. We'll be doing this next week also.
Man. 70.
All right. I'm going to say 72.
Okay.
And Selma.
Oh, yeah.
This one I'm very excited for. I'm going to say 89. I'm going to say 89.
I'm going to say
Selma.
I'm going to say 94.
Oh.
I'm going high.
We also have in limited release 2 Days, 1 Night and Leviathan next week. So
all right.
Just a ton. That's ridiculous.
That is.
All right. On VOD, I don't think. Do I have anything?
Anything? The Interview? Maybe?
Probably not. No. I don't really have anything. Let's Kill Ward's Wife. That's the only thing I have.
Wow.
So, it's the holiday.
Yeah.
DVD and Blu-ray next week. We got a whole lot of nothing, too. We have The Good Lie, Pride, and The Trip to Italy.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's pretty much it.
Solid.
I hope everyone listening has a happy holidays, because we'll be coming back after Christmas. It'll be on the 28th, so we'll be covering we'll be covering American Sniper, Unbroken, and A Most Violent Year next week, so look forward to that. Be sure to send us your questions to podcast@filmpulse.net. and we'll be sure to answer them on the show. Follow us on Twitter at FilmPulseNet and at FilmPulseKevin. Be sure to rate us on iTunes. We appreciate that very much. For Kevin Rakestraw, my name is Adam Patterson, and we'll see you on Thursday for Ryan Watches a Movie.